You know, sometimes people judge dogs before they really know them. Bruno, a Rottweiler living near the Mississippi River, had a reputation that made neighbors wary. Too aggressive, they said. Too unpredictable. But as the story would soon prove, appearances can be deceiving. Sometimes the dog that everyone fears is the one who will save a life when seconds count. It was late afternoon along the swollen Mississippi. The river had risen after days of relentless rain, turning into a churning, muddy torrent that swept through lowlands and flooded streets. The levees groaned under the pressure, trees and debris floated in the water, and the wind howled with the occasional crack of lightning overhead. The sky was a heavy gray, low and oppressive, matching the anxiety building in the hearts of everyone near the river. Lily, a young girl of 8, had wandered a little too close to the bank. She loved the water, always fascinated by the rushing current, but the river was far more dangerous today than she realized. She slipped on the muddy edge, and before she could regain her balance, a sudden surge of water swept her off her feet. Her screams echoed across the flooded field as she struggled to stay afloat, arms flailing, eyes wide with panic. Her parents were nearby, but the water was moving too fast, the current too strong. They shouted, their voices barely audible over the roar of the river, but every attempt to reach her was thwarted by the violent water. People on the opposite bank tried to throw ropes or grab her, but the flood had transformed the river into a deadly maze of debris, branches, and strong undertows. Lily's small frame was tossed helplessly, spinning in the murky brown water. Each second felt like an eternity, and the realization that she could be swept away completely filled everyone with dread. And then, Bruno noticed. Bruno had been kept in the yard nearby, pacing, watching the rising water with an intensity that matched the danger unfolding. To anyone unfamiliar, he might have seemed wild, intimidating, and aggressive. After all, Rottweilers are large, muscular dogs with a commanding presence. But Bruno was intelligent and observant, and he had a protective streak that few people recognized. The moment he saw Lily in the water, something clicked inside him. Without hesitation, he tore through the yard, knocking aside obstacles, his massive paws slapping the muddy ground as he raced toward the riverbank. The wind and rain lashed against him, and the river's roar threatened to overwhelm any sound. But Bruno's focus was absolute. He leapt into the churning water without hesitation, muscles rippling as he pushed against the current, swimming toward Lily with purpose. Every stroke, every movement, was guided by instinct, training, and the singular goal of reaching the girl before it was too late. Lily was terrified, but something about Bruno's presence, the commanding bark, the solid bulk of his body, brought a strange sense of hope. She had heard people say he was aggressive, too wild, too dangerous, yet here he was, moving with precision and urgency to save her. She reached for him instinctively as he arrived, his massive head bobbing above the water, eyes locked on hers, guiding her towards safety. The river was a battlefield. Twigs and branches flew past, debris battered Bruno and Lily, but he adjusted, shifted his weight, and used his strength to shield her from the worst of the current. Every nudge and push of his broad head and chest was deliberate. He didn't bite, didn't thrash wildly. He acted strategically, keeping Lily above the water, her small body clinging to his thick neck. Minutes stretched, but to them, it felt like hours. Bruno battled the relentless pull of the Mississippi, each stroke of his legs propelling them closer to a partially submerged tree that could serve as an anchor point. Lily's arms were wrapped tightly around him, eyes squeezed shut against the spray of mud and water, trusting him completely. The dog's focus never wavered. His eyes scanned the river for obstacles, branches, and the treacherous pull of the current, calculating every movement to keep them safe. Finally, Bruno guided Lily to a safer section near the riverbank. The waters here were slightly calmer, and a few adults had begun wading into the shallow edge, ready to assist. Bruno held Lily steady, using his massive body as a barrier against the remaining pull, allowing the rescuers to reach them. He braced himself against the current, ensuring the girl was completely stable before letting go. Once Lily's feet touched solid ground, the relief was immediate and overwhelming. Parents scooped her up, tears streaming, and the gathered crowd erupted into cheers. Bruno shook himself, sending water and mud flying, but his eyes remained focused on the girl, ensuring she was truly safe. For everyone watching, it was a revelation. The dog they had once feared, the Rottweiler branded as aggressive and dangerous, had just saved a child's life with courage, intelligence, and unwavering loyalty. The storm continued, rain lashing down, thunder booming, yet there was a calm in the middle of chaos. Lily, trembling and exhausted, knelt beside Bruno, hugging him tightly. "Thank you, Bruno," she whispered, voice shaking. He nuzzled her gently, tail wagging, muscles still tense but proud, aware that he had fulfilled his purpose. Neighbors and rescuers couldn't stop talking about what they had witnessed. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Others wept openly, realizing that bravery sometimes comes in unexpected forms. Bruno had transformed from a misunderstood, too aggressive Rottweiler into a hero whose courage saved a life that afternoon. The river wasn't giving up. Its swollen waters churned with unrelenting force, swirling around trees, uprooted branches, and debris floating violently downstream. Bruno had Lily clinging tightly to his thick neck, and every step, every paddle of his powerful legs, had to be precise. One wrong move could have sent them both under. The current tugged mercilessly, twisting and spinning them, but Bruno's massive body and strong limbs kept them upright, pushing against the surge with an instinctive rhythm born from years of alertness and protection. Lily's small arms were wrapped around Bruno's neck, her fingers digging into his fur. She was shivering from shock and cold water, but she trusted him completely. In her terrified, adrenaline-fueled mind, she realized this dog, the same one everyone called too aggressive, was now her lifeline. His deep bark echoed over the roaring water, both a warning to the chaotic current and a signal of control, a reassurance to Lily that he had this under control, even if she couldn't yet see how. The river twisted and shifted beneath them, and Bruno adjusted constantly, dodging floating branches and debris. A half-submerged log slammed into him from the side, rocking his massive frame. He pushed forward, muscles rippling under his thick black and tan coat, using his sheer strength to stabilize both of them. His instincts guided him. He knew the direction toward the riverbank, the safest path, even as water surged unpredictably around them. Minutes passed, or what felt like hours, but every second was critical. Bruno and Lily fought against nature itself. He paddled powerfully, dodging a floating branch that threatened to sweep past Lily's head, nudging her with his snout, steadying her against the pole. His teeth never clamped, never bit. His claws paddled underwater, stabilizing their movement. Every movement was controlled, deliberate, and strategic. He wasn't just swimming. He was protecting, guiding, and shielding simultaneously. The riverbank was still some distance away, and the storm showed no mercy. Water lapped violently at Bruno's sides, the current strong enough to knock most humans off their feet. Lightning streaked overhead, reflecting off the churning water, and the sound of thunder was deafening. Yet Bruno remained focused, eyes fixed on the bank, muscles propelling him forward. With unstoppable determination. Occasionally, a wave would slam into them, threatening to topple Lily from his back. Bruno braced himself, adjusting his weight, letting the water push him slightly before countering it with a powerful stroke. Each small maneuver bought precious seconds and kept Lily's head above water. She could feel his warmth, the steadiness of his body beneath her, and slowly, amidst the terror, she began to trust him completely. At one point, the current twisted Bruno sideways, forcing him into a partial spin. Lily gasped, clutching tightly, and Bruno reacted instantly. He pushed against the flow, used his strong shoulders to pivot back toward the bank, and nudged her again with his snout to reassure her. Every action was instinctive, precise, born of a loyalty and protective instinct that transcended fear. Debris continued to float toward them, branches, small logs, even plastic trash caught in the river's flow. Bruno navigated each hazard expertly, moving Lily's body slightly with his snout, adjusting their trajectory, ensuring they remained on a safe path. His growls echoed over the water, a signal to the river, or at least a signal to Lily, that he was in charge, that she was safe with him. Finally, a slightly calmer area appeared ahead. The riverbank sloped gently here, and a few nearby adults had waded carefully into the water, extending arms and ropes. Bruno adjusted again, nudging Lily's torso with his snout, keeping her balanced, swimming diagonally toward the shallow bank. The current tried to tug them off course, but his muscles, strength, and intelligence ensured they remained steady. Just before reaching the bank, a larger log floated dangerously close. Bruno reacted instinctively, angling his body to block the impact, using his side as a shield. Lily clung to him, trembling, as he pushed forward, muscles burning, every stroke precise. Finally, they were within reach of the adults. Bruno positioned Lily so that rescuers could grab her safely. Hands reached in, lifting her to solid ground, while Bruno remained in the water, muscles straining, until the last of the current swept past. When Lily was pulled onto dry land, she collapsed into her parents' arms, sobbing with relief. Bruno shook himself, water and mud flying in all directions, and trotted over, tail wagging cautiously, still alert. The storm raged on, but in that moment, a calm seemed to settle over the immediate area. Lily was alive, thanks entirely to the dog they had all feared. Everyone who witnessed it was stunned. Neighbors, rescue workers, and passers-by were speechless at the sight of a Rottweiler battling a raging river, shielding a child with precision and intelligence. One woman whispered, "I can't believe it, that dog, he saved her." Others nodded, eyes wide, recognizing that the very dog they had called aggressive and dangerous had demonstrated courage, loyalty, and intelligence beyond measure. Paramedics checked Lily for injuries. She was cold, shaken, and scratched from debris, but unharmed in any serious way. Bruno stayed close, eyes scanning the river, ears pricked, alert for any other dangers. His job was not done until she was truly safe, and even then, he remained watchful, body tense but proud. The incident spread quickly throughout the community. Bruno's reputation changed overnight. People who had feared him, avoided him, or labeled him as a danger now saw him as a hero. The lesson was clear. Judgment based on appearances or past behavior can be misleading. Actions define character. Bruno's courage, intelligence, and loyalty had saved a human life, a child's life, and that alone changed how he would be remembered in the neighborhood. Lily's parents hugged him tightly, murmuring thanks, while neighbors snapped photos and videos, recording the dog who had faced a raging river to save a child. Bruno, still wet, exhausted, and covered in mud, accepted their praise quietly, nuzzling Lily once more before retreating a few steps to regain his strength. He had acted without hesitation, without fear, and without concern for himself, embodying the purest form of loyalty and bravery. And for Lily, the experience was transformative. She had seen courage and protection in action, real, tangible, and coming from a source she had once feared. The memory of Bruno's massive, steady presence in the rushing water would stay with her forever, a reminder that heroism sometimes comes on four paws, with sharp eyes, a powerful body, and a heart that refuses to abandon someone in need. By the time Lily's tiny feet touched solid ground, the relief was instantaneous and overwhelming. Her parents wrapped her in trembling arms, tears streaming down their faces, holding her as if they would never let go again. The storm still raged above, rain lashing down, wind gusting through the trees, but there was a moment of calm at the riverbank, a calm born of survival, of a child saved, of a life spared by the bravery of a dog. Bruno shook himself vigorously, water and mud flying in every direction, but his eyes never left Lily. He stayed close, body tense, ears pricked, scanning the water for any other dangers. He had done what he was born to do, protect the vulnerable. And though the neighbors had called him aggressive, dangerous, even unpredictable, they now saw the truth. Bruno was loyal, intelligent, and courageous, a guardian in the truest sense. The crowd that had gathered on the riverbank could hardly contain their astonishment. Some people clapped, some gasped, others wept openly. "That dog, he saved her life," one man shouted, voice thick with disbelief and awe. A few women hugged their children tighter, realizing just how quickly danger could strike. Even the storm, with all its fury, seemed to pause for a moment, a quiet acknowledgement of the incredible feat they had all just witnessed. Paramedics and rescue personnel checked Lily carefully. She was cold, shivering, and covered in mud, but miraculously unharmed. Minor scratches and bruises were quickly treated, but nothing compared to the life-threatening danger she had faced in the river. Bruno remained by her side, occasionally nudging her with his snout, reminding everyone that his focus had not shifted. Even in exhaustion, he had fulfilled his duty fully and completely. Lily's parents couldn't stop thanking him. "Thank you, Bruno. You saved our daughter," her mother whispered, tears soaking her coat. Bruno nuzzled her gently, tail wagging cautiously, not understanding words but understanding gratitude in a way that was unmistakable. His large, powerful body was both reassuring and protective, a living reminder that heroism comes in many forms, not always as expected. News of the rescue spread quickly through the neighborhood and beyond. People who had once feared Bruno now marveled at his courage and loyalty. Social media buzzed with videos and eyewitness accounts. He became a symbol, not of aggression or fear, but of bravery, intelligence, and devotion. The dog who had been called too aggressive had proven that character is defined by actions, not appearances. Over the next few days, Bruno received extra care and attention. His thick black and tan coat was cleaned and dried. Nutritious food replenished his energy, and he was given long, calm walks to recover. Yet he didn't seek praise or recognition. For Bruno, the reward was intrinsic, the knowledge that a life had been saved and that Lily was safe. That was enough. Lily herself began to understand the depth of what had happened. She remembered the rushing water, the twisting current, the debris striking her as she clung to Bruno's powerful neck. She remembered his warm, steady presence beneath her, the confidence in his eyes, the way he seemed to anticipate every danger and counter it instinctively. For a child who had once been terrified of the aggressive Rottweiler, Bruno had now become a hero, a friend, and a protector she would never forget. The parents, neighbors, and rescuers continued to reflect on the event. Discussions arose about judgment, fear, and trust. How often had they dismissed Bruno simply because of his appearance, his size, his breed? How often had they allowed assumptions to cloud their understanding? Bruno's actions had shattered those misconceptions. He had demonstrated that loyalty, intelligence, and courage are not bound by reputation. They are proven in moments of action, especially in life or death situations. Community members began to recognize the importance of responsible dog ownership and training. Bruno's heroism showed that even breeds often stereotyped as aggressive can become lifesavers when nurtured, socialized, and allowed to express their instincts positively. It was a lesson in empathy, patience, and the power of observation. To truly understand an animal, one must look beyond reputation and see what it is capable of in the right circumstances. For Lily, the incident became a story she would carry for the rest of her life. She often spoke of Bruno with reverence, telling her friends how a dog had saved her from a raging river, how he had battled currents, dodged debris, and remained steadfast. The event had given her not just a second chance at life, but a new perspective on courage, loyalty, and trust. She learned that bravery could come on 4 legs, from a heart willing to act when every second counted. Bruno himself returned to his daily life, calm but alert, powerful but gentle with Lily. He continued to guard the neighborhood, to observe and protect, but now he did so with quiet pride. He had faced a life-threatening situation, risked his own safety, and had succeeded. And although humans would celebrate the act, for Bruno, it was simply fulfilling his instinct and training, protecting those in need without question, without hesitation. The story left a lasting impression on everyone involved. Neighbors who had feared him now respected him. Rescue workers who had witnessed his bravery shared the tale, emphasizing the lessons of courage, loyalty, and action over assumptions. Lily's family cherished him, recognizing that he was more than a pet. He was a guardian, a hero, and a living reminder that appearances are often misleading. For anyone listening to this story, consider this. If someone you loved were in immediate danger, could you trust another being to protect them? Could you recognize courage, loyalty, and intelligence, even when it comes from an unexpected source? Have you ever seen an animal act bravely, in a moment where seconds determined life or death? Share your thoughts in the comments. Stories like Bruno's remind us that heroism comes in many forms, sometimes quiet, sometimes unexpected, but always powerful and transformative. Finally, for Bruno, the reward was simple: a life saved, a human protected, and the satisfaction of having done exactly what was needed. No medals, no accolades, no headlines could compare to the instinctive, courageous act he had performed. And when you imagine the Mississippi River, swollen and violent, the storm raging above, and a massive Rottweiler guiding a frightened child to safety, remember this. Courage and loyalty are not measured by size, reputation, or breed. They are proven by action when it matters most.